Welcome back to our Microsoft Flight Simulator A to Z series. Today we arrived at the letter P and we're diving into the most critical screen in a modern cockpit, the PFD, or Primary Flight Display. If you ever hopped into a modern plane in Microsoft Flight Simulator and felt overwhelmed by the bright screens and moving tapes, this video is for you. We're going to break down what a PFD actually does and run through 12 essential demos across general aviation, airliners and helicopters, all found in the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 Standard Edition. Before we push any buttons, we need to understand exactly what we're looking at. The Primary Flight Display, PFD, isn't just a digital version of an old couch, it's an integrated flight instrument system. Think of the PFD as the command center for your eyes. Its primary goal is to provide situational awareness. In the analog cockpit you have to perform a T-scan, constantly moving your eyes between separate gouges. On a PFD, all that data is layered. The PFD is divided in 5 big components. The first one is the attitude indicator, the centerpiece. This is the largest part of the display. It shows your pitch, nose up or nose down, and your bank, left or right. Unlike old gouges, this is incredibly smooth and uses MEMS sensors, MEMS, to give you a perfect representation of the horizon, even in total darkness. The second component is the airspeed tape, which is on the left side. Your speed is shown on a rolling tape. Notice the color-coded strips. Green is your normal operating range, white is your flap extension range, and red is your never exceed speed. Look for the trend vector, a small magenta line that grows out of the current speed. This tells you exactly where your speed will be in 6 seconds based on your current acceleration. Component number 3 is the altitude tape, which you will find on the right side. This shows your altitude in feet. Next to it you will find the vertical speed indicator, VSI. If you are climbing at 500 feet per minute, a needle or bar will grow upward. Having these two side by side makes leveling off at a specific altitude much easier than, for example, in an old Cessna. The fourth component. It's called the HSI, or the compass rose. HSI stands for Horizontal Situation Indicator and combines your heading with your navigation. In Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 this is dynamic. It can show your GPS track, or a VOR needle or a localizer for landing. It also displays your ground track, a small magenta diamond that shows where the plane is actually going if the wind is blowing you sideways. The last component is the flight mode initiator. You can find it on the top. This is the status bar. It tells you what the plane's computer is thinking. It tracks your autopilot status, like an upcoming altitude catch, and your active modes. If you see a green alt here, the plane is holding your altitude. If it's white, it's just waiting to get there. The real magic of the PFD in Flight Simulator 2024 is the overlay capability. Because it's a screen, we can layer extra info on top of your flight instruments. Things like the wind speed, terrain warnings and traffic alerts. This means you spend less time interpreting the gouges and more time flying the plane. Now that you know the layout of the land, let's look at how this changes depending on what you're flying. So in our first demo we're gonna set up a decision height, which can be used for example for category 1 ILS approaches, but also for other approaches. The decision height is being used when you're doing the approach, and when you reach that critical point you need to decide, am I gonna land or will I do the go round? So how to do that? Well, you press the TMR rev option, and inside this option you can move that large knob to, in this case, the mince section. Based on that you can use the smaller knob to switch to borrow, which will make this value shown here, but currently it's set to 0 feet, which does make sense because we need to set it to, you're correct, 200 feet. Based on that, once you've made the change, you can move it away. You can see that the baro is now set to 200 feet, and if you descend, and if you're coming at that critical altitude, well, then you get a warning or an alert to make you aware, hey, now you need to decide what to do. Am I gonna land or will I do the go around? Demo number 2. Understanding what the autopilot is actually doing. That's what you can see from the top row of the PFD of the Airbus A320. But also for the other aircrafts, you will likely find those options over here. Here we can find the position of the throttle. In this case it's in climb mode, and you can see the climb mode is activated while the altitude mode is in kind of passive mode. This mode will automatically be engaged once we're reaching that specific altitude. Besides that, we can see that the navigation mode has been switched on, which tells us, okay, we're using the GPS, we're using the flight plan to, say, figure out where we need to fly to. So super easy. On the top you will see the autopilot status. Now I've jumped a little bit ahead of time, and you can see that the altitude mode is now activated. So you can see it also dynamically changed this value. But what if I want to climb to a higher altitude? Well, I can also do that because currently I'm in the altitude cruise mode, but let's assume that I want to climb a little bit, say with 500 feet per minute to my next altitude, which could be 15,000 feet. In that case I can press the option and click the vertical speed mode, and now you can see that the vertical speed mode is activated with the plus 500 feet per minute, which I'm climbing per minute until we of course reach that nice target altitude. In addition to that, you can see that the speed mode is also being engaged, and we're now trying to reach a speed of 280 knots, and then once we reach that it will simply level off. So super nice option, because this shows you the autopilot status, the autopilot which is active, the flight director is active, and also if all the throttle has been enabled or not. In a helicopter, your PFD is a lifesaver. The FLI needle, which stands for First Limit Indicator, combines engine data to show you exactly how much power you have left. Keep it centered during your hover to avoid over-torquing the engine. In the fourth demo we're gonna look at how we can turn on the 3D display terrain, because what you currently see is the default layout, but if you look very closely at one of the previous demos, you saw that it was completely different. To switch on the synthetic vision, we go to the PFD options, and then you will go to SVT. The SVT has a few options. It has the pathways, it has the terrain, and then the heading LBL. So if we activate terrain, it already looks much nicer, and it makes, let's say, it visible for you where you fly over, right? You can see the ground, and you also see that by default the heading label is switched on. You can switch on or off, and you can see this bar being shown because this is the heading label. Now if you prefer to also have the pathways, you can also switch that on. That is by default the altitude which you need to fly. So if I would decrease the altitude, you will see that those pink boxes will go lower and shows me the path which I need to fly. Wouldn't it be helpful for you if you would have a tool which tells you, hey, you're kind of going into the correct direction, but maybe you need to change your climb speed a bit? Well, that's where the flight director comes in, right? Let me enable it. Here you can see that now this nice two green arrows are shown here, or lines I should say. This will tell me if I'm climbing with the correct speed, but also which direction I need to go to, because ideally these lines need to be centered. Centered simply means this should be somewhere in the middle, as well as the line over here. So I need to make a course correction, and then you see what happens, right? It directly changes. So the closer I'm coming to this green line, I can change it. For this to work, you of course need to enable some things. You need to make sure that the heading mode is enabled. You can do it like this, right? This is the heading mode. Or you can use the heading mode directly from the flight plan which you programmed. The altitude mode is set using this mode, and of course will automatically figure out which kind of, I'd say, altitude you need to climb to. But you are able to use the heading track mode also to make sure that you're climbing a certain speed. That's this button, right? So if you see this, then change it to heading track again, and then using this option you can change, for example, the say feet per minute which you want to climb. If you change it, you will see that this line will of course change. It will give you the direction in which you need to climb, right? Do you need to, let's say, pull your stick back a bit, or do you need to decrease the let's say climb rate? Same thing is for descending. You can also use it for descending, right? So make sure that the cross is in the center, then you're good to go. Wouldn't it be nice if you could see the wind direction and speed in real time in the PFD? Well, let's have a look at how we can do that. If you press the PFD option, you can select the wind option. Inside the wind option, you've got three options. Option number 1, which shows it like this, right? Shows the direction and the speed. Option number 2, which only shows you this. And option number 3, which I prefer the most, is the direction and the speed, only then using this visible. If you want to get rid of it, simply press the off option and then you're good to go. But once you selected the correct option, you can of course use the back options to go back in the previous menus. What if you want to add a mini map to the PFD? In this 7th demo, we're gonna look at how you can enable the Inset map. How to do that? You press the map option, the map HSI, then you go to the layout, and in the layout you will press the Inset map option, which shows you this map, which is super nice because in this case you can see here's the top of the sand, you can see the navigation beacons, you can see the heading, you can see I would say the ground, right, which you're flying over, and that makes it super nice. At least I do like it a lot, because this helps me navigating, I would say, in Flight Simulator 2024. Of course you can still change this, I would say, view also to this map, but for that look back at one of my previous demos if you directly skipped it to this one. In that case, skip to demo number 4, which is more about turning on the 3D terrain display in the PFD. Did you always wanted how to display the V-speeds on the airspeed tab, like the ones shown here? Well, let's have a look at that. What you need to do is press the TMR rev option, and inside this one you can move the large knob to switch on those speeds or to change the speeds, because you can change the speeds as you can see, and it's directly being reflected here in the display. If you don't want to see them, simply move one position away and then change it to off. This makes it possible to dynamically configure the speeds, and will also help you to maintain the speeds while either taking off or landing. Flying in airspace that uses meters instead of feet can be challenging. In this demo we're gonna look at how you can change it, or how you can add the meters. And it's relatively easy. You go to the EVIS panel and there you will find this button. It's a little bit hidden behind these options, so let me show it to you. Here you see metric alt. If you press this option you might think, hey, nothing changes, right? The altitude is still shown here. But if you would go back to the PFD, which is over here, you can see now the altitude in meters is being shown, which makes it easy for you to figure out, okay, what's the meters which I am climbing to. In this case, 3050 meters. What should you do when you're approaching an airport using one of the nice methods such as ILS? In that case, the PFD will also help you, because you can see these diamonds here. These diamonds will tell you if you are on the correct glide path, but also if you're aligned correctly to the runway in this case. So super useful. Make sure that you're centered and then you're good. And if you're using the autopilot will help you take your aircraft safely to the ground. Wouldn't it be useful to add a second needle to this nice compass? In demo number 10 we're gonna look at how you can do that. What you need to do is you press the PFD option, and inside that you've got bearing 1 and bearing 2. So if I press bearing 1, it will add a second needle to the compass. Currently you can't see it because it's set to nav 1, but if I press it again I can scroll to the multiple let's say, navigation options which I have in the aircraft, right? The navigation, but also the GPS. And you see that the arrow is blue, which means it is this one. It's bearing number 1. The same thing can be done for bearing number 2, right? You can switch it between the multiple navigation options, and that would even add an additional needle to the display. What if your PFD goes black? Don't panic, hit this red button. It's called the display backup button, and your primary flight display will instantly move to your second screen, giving you all the info you need to land safely. Be aware that this might not be working in every aircraft in Flight Simulator 2024, but hey, you can use it. So maybe if it works in the future, or if it starts working in the future, then you can use it. 12 tips. 3 aircraft types, 1 screen. The PFD is the most powerful tool in your cockpit, once you know which buttons to push. Next time we will tackle the letter Q. Which term we're gonna discuss next week? I don't know yet, but keep an eye on my channel because I will post a survey. Likely there will not be that many options as normal. Thanks for watching. Here ends this episode of Master Flight Simulator A to Z, where we discuss the PFD. Until next time.